Hello there, Chris here from Becker's Models. Today I want to review Hobby Boss's 1/32 scale Ilyushin 2 Sturmovik. Now in the West, most modelers aren't aware of this particular aircraft, and that's mainly because of our hobby's focus on the Luftwaffe and the Battle of Britain, and of course, you know, the famous US fighters and bombers like the Mustang and the B-17. But did you know this was the most produced aircraft in history and the most used during World War II? Let's have a closer look at this kit. The Ilyushin 2 or Sturmovik was a ground attack aircraft produced by the Soviet Union. It was effectively the forerunner to the A-10 Warthog and other anti-tank aircraft. This was used extensively on the Eastern Front, attacking columns of German and other Axis vehicles, but yeah, it suffered drastic losses against the Luftwaffe and ground fire as a result. It was initially prototyped as a two-seater. They were then produced as a single-seater, but then they later realised, hey, we need a rear gunner. They field modified some of them, and then eventually they produced them as a dedicated two-seater. These were still used post-World War II by various nations, including some interesting captured examples. Hobby Boss first released this kit in 2010, the single-seater version, and then they followed that up with a ski variant, and then another two-seater version, and then the last one with the all-metal wing. These are the only plastic injected Ilyushin 2s available in 1/32 scale. The 1/48 scale is well covered. Up until recently, Accurate Miniatures they were a really good kit. They covered every variant, and then Tamiya came out with their superlative IL-2M. But yeah, in 1/32, this is what you've got. Well, enough waffling, let's have a look inside the box and look at what you get. First, you get this, it's an interesting picture, I guess. You get the all-over white Sturmovik there in Leningrad, I believe, in late 42. Just have a look around the box there. We get two marking options there. The more interesting one, I think, is this one, the three-color version. It's a fairly good-sized box. Okay. And there we are, some other colour call-outs there. Let's look inside, that's more interesting. Upside down, Miss Jane. Alright, first of all, I really like the way Hobby Boss, they package in, they've got a sub box here of parts in here. The sprues are all done individually. Okay, one sprue to one bag, which is how it should be. A listening air fix, reveal, etc. There's a lot in here. There's the usual thing of decals, got an instruction booklet and colour call-out, and I don't even know what's in here, even though I've had this kit for a little while. I have to look inside. So let's take these all open and have a closer look. Let's look at the instructions and the paint call-out sheet. Anybody who's familiar with Trumpeter or Hobby Boss, they're pretty much sister companies, and also Merit and I Love Kit. They have the same sort of format. Looking at the colour call-out, this is the one I'd like to do, the nice black and green top and the blue underneath. They give a few paint manufacturers. Mr. Hobby Vallejo, Model Master, Tamiya and Humbrol. Just flip it over there to the main one on the front. That was actually the Stalingrad one, not Leningrad, as I said. So yeah, that's a nice paint call-out sheet. However, the instructions aren't as good. I'll tell you why in a second. Alright, Hobby Boss and Trumpeter sometimes do this. They produce, hang on, step 5. Why am I going to step 5 when I open the page? And then step 12's over here. And then step 1's over here. And then step 4's here. What they do is they produce two, and I'll zoom out for you, or bring it out. They've got two pull-out sort of instruction ones like that. And then you turn it over, and it goes from 4 to 9, and then there's 5. There's 5. It's over there. I mean, it's super confusing. It's a pain in the proverbial. I recently reviewed a Hobby Boss kit, yeah, the MV22, the Osprey. I'll put a link up there if you want to watch it. And that was great. It was Hobby Boss, and they did it in booklet form. So, step 1 was on page 1, step 2 was on page 2, step 3 was on page 3 when you turn the page. Am I being picky? Nah, not really. You can read it, you just got to work it out yourself. Alright, let's have a quick look at what we got going here. Oh, the usual bump at the start. I don't know where it is, I'm not going to look for it. Sprue map, blah, 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 blah. We're talking a 1/32 scale, single engine fighter plane. It shouldn't be that complicated, but I do know that there's a lot of parts in here that they include. Hobby Boss are renowned for doing this. That just you can't see. You'll never see them. The engine being one of them. Let's start at number 1 and go from there. So we can start out with the cockpit, and we've got photo etch seatbelts. So if you don't want to put a pilot in, that's great. And there's a fuel tank here, which I believe you can't even see. It's behind. It's just behind the pilot, behind his armoured shield behind there. And I don't think you can see it, but you know, easy to construct. It looks like the trumpeter, Hobby Boss, same thing. They're doing the clear instrument panel first, then you put a decal on it, and then you put it on into a painted piece behind. Fairly simple way of doing things. Got a little bit of raised detail and extra levers and knobs and what have you for the cockpit, but it looks relatively simple. Now we move on to the engine. Now there's a full engine included in the kit. That's great. It's, you know, it's like it's a big V12 something or other. I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert on this aircraft, even though it's the most produced ever. You can't see it. I'll show you later. There's a clear cowl they give you if you want to have a clear piece of plastic at the front of your airplane. I mean, great, go for it. But really, I mean, they go to all this detail. They give you all this, you know, you've got the twin engine banks for the V, all the individual exhaust, which of course you'll see the exhaust. You've got just all these parts and piping and everything. It's great. I mean, it ups the part count, but you're never going to see it. Then we get to the inlet, which goes to there. I think that's the inlet. I'll have to have a look later, I'm pretty sure. Air intake, yeah, there they go. They even say what it is. That's a change for some instructions. They don't tell you what you're building. We assemble the fuselage next. You've got a cowl piece to go over there, and it looks like some sort of chute. Now, this part here, this is some sort of avionics gyroscopes or something or other. Like I said, I don't know what they are. You won't be able to see them. So why build them, okay? Only you and somebody else will know they're there. Separate elevators, which is good, and some really nice detailed hinges. The landing gear, which as I said is alloy, it's actually metal landing gear. I think the tyres are, no they're not, they're plastic I believe. Okay, so we've gone to 4, where's 5? Oh, there's 9, hang on, let me find 5. So the main fuselage goes together. Like I said, these parts here, I mean, that's reminiscent of the Messerschmitt 262 that Trumpeter does in 1/32 scale. You can't see those parts, so why bother? Cockpit tub, engine goes in there, sandwich the two halves together, you're done. Put the tail pieces on, the rudder and so forth. Thankfully, it looks like there's no photo etch involved. It's just a straight fit. And then we get to the central wing section with the bomb bays. Now I do believe you can, yes, here's some photos, there we go, some very nice photo etch, so you can actually construct the bomb bay with a lot of detail there and leave it open. Moving on, they have you put the nacelles, or whatever you want to call those, that house the undercarriage on first, and then put the fuselage in that middle section. I would have thought you'd construct the entire wing first, but you know, that's what they say to do. Alright, the next piece of the over-engineering is these parts here for the cannon, and they look really, really nice. You can't see any of that. It just gets sandwiched in. See that? Look at that. They give you the belt feed mechanism. They give you for the other gun, and you know this big ammunition belt. You just can't see any of it. Okay, we keep going with the wings. So here we go. We've got look like some really nice big tabs there. Here we go. That go into the wing. So that looks like they should slot into that middle section with some authority, so that's some good engineering. And all the build reviews I've seen online, there doesn't seem to be any sort of drama with that. So we just got the left and right wings to go on, and again, all this detail you don't see. Ailerons go on, looks like fabric with a metal trim tab from the looks of it. And step 11, there we are. So that's basically the main construction, putting the spars into the central piece, putting the canopy on, and finishing off with the prop. Had to find step 12, couldn't find it anywhere. So we've got this is for detailing up the bomb bay, so it looks like you've got options to have it completely closed or to have it posed open, so that's an interesting option. Is that step 12? Are we done? We've got to look. Oh my god, I would seriously consider photocopying each page or printing them all out so you've got individual sheets, because this is just a pain in the proverbial. Ugh. Alright. At least it's not as bad as a Dragon instruction sheet. Final bits, we've got flaps. Oh, look at that, you've got individual flap actuators. They look really interesting. Ah, that's some nice detail. So it looks like you can have flaps up or down. We've got the doors for the main wheel base. Losing my ability to speak. and rocket, they look like rocket launchers as well. Okay, interesting. Big amount of ordnance that you can put together. There's several sprues of ordnance in the kit. Is there a step 14? Yes, there is. And then we've got some sort of, there it is. I don't know what they are. PLBG 150. I'm assuming they're big bombs or something. Yeah, they've got to be. There's fuses. So, and then I think that's the last bit. Knock on wood. We've got the, looks like reminiscent of an A10 Warthog with all the ordnance you can pile on everywhere on the Sturmovik. Thought I'd look at the decals first before we look at the general sprues. If you're a armour modeler coming to aircraft for the first time, this is a good introduction. This is it. That's all there is. Just some stars and the this single. It looks a bit naff, this instrument panel, but it's going to be sandwiched in between a clear piece and a backing piece. So it means you don't have to paint. Well, you do have to paint the front bit, I guess. So yeah, it's not that complicated, but if you can visualise it when you look at the parts later, it's okay. Decals look alright. They're not very thick. Most people have no problems with a Hobby Boss / trumpeter decals. I would personally mask all the big stars and even the numbers. In this scale, it's pretty easy to do. Sprue Tour begins. Now, there are a lot of sprues. This is a 1/32 scale, large. You know, it's a single engine, but it's a large aircraft. There's a lot of detail going on, and as I explained in the instructions, there's a lot of stuff that Hobby Boss engineer you'll never see. I'll still show you the parts, but you know, it's a bit much. So I'll quickly go through them because otherwise we'll be here for a day and a half. But we've got lots of rivets. Lots of rivets. I'll see if I can zoom in there. You can see them in the light there. Now if you're a bit of an Ilyushin 2 expert, you'll know that some of these came with wood wings before they went to all metal. So you might have to go through and fill in some of those rivets. I'm not sure where. I'll have to do more research on that. But yeah, they look good so far. It's typical Hobby Boss trumpeter style of sprue gates there. They're okay. They're not massive, but you know, on the leading edge there, you gotta be real careful cutting that off. I'll just flip it over, and the ejection pins are all on the inside. Got some really nice ribs there on where the flaps are going to go, and yeah, can't see any ejection pin marks there or there, so that's good. Here's the fuselage and prop sprue, and again we've got lots of nicely recessed rivet detail there, and some big bolt holes there on the where the wing root attaches to the fuselage. Again, I believe that some of these parts back here in the rear fuselage, you may need to cover up some of those rivets depending on the subtype you want to do. And moving to that looks like the cockpit tub. There's the fuel tank, which looks really nice. Yeah, it's not bad. It's your typical sort of Hobby Boss stuff. It's, you know, one level down from Tamiya in terms of, you know, exquisite fine detail, but hey, it's really, really good. It's really nice. I can't see any sort of problems leaping out at me. I'll just give it a quick flip, and yeah, again, I can't see. Is that the instrument panel? Yep, there we are. Okay, so that's the instrument panel blank. All right, this one here. And then you put the decal on that, and then you put the clear piece over the top. Now if I flip that over, it actually have recessed all the dials, not dials, yeah, the dial containers, so you can run some wires out through there. It'd be interesting to see if you can see those dials or those wires or not, but that's a really good detail. Here's the mid-wing section as they do the lower fuselage. Here with the bomb bays, and I think that's the air inlet, and then that's the upper wing root sections. And again, it's just the same thing. I mean, there's so much nice, lovely detail there, if you can see that in the light. So for those of you who just like to paint and weather and chip the heck out of stuff, this is going to be great. So much nice fine detail there to chip away. I'll flip it and have a look inside those bomb bay doors, or the bomb bays. Close the bomb bay hell, or whatever he said. They look pretty good. There's no ejection pin marks, and same with these bays as well. Looks pretty good. These lovely cannons and machine guns, really done well. They're molded, you know, they've been slide molded. You can see the slides there, so you get some really nice ends. You're not going to see almost any of this. It's a real shame the way they've done it. They could have engineered with some open panels. I mean, they do it on the Hurricane and they do it on a few of their other large scale stuff. So don't know why. So there it is. So here are the sprues for the engine parts, and again another couple of big sprues where the only things you're going to see are these individual exhaust stacks, which are all drilled out. Thankfully, they look really good. And yeah, oh, there we go. We got some plastic landing gear instead of I've seen the metal ones already, so that's interesting. But yeah, most of this engine work, and it's lovely. It's really well done with the engine banks and the crankcase. You know, it's reminiscent of the Tamiya Merlin V12s that you get in the Mustang and Spitfire kits. It's really well done. It's basic, you have to add stuff to it like wiring and spark plugs, etc. But that's a real shame. I wonder if there's a way that you could jury up a some way to build the engine separately. It's a real shame that you pretty much don't use most of this plastic. Alright, we've got the landing gear nacelles, I guess you could say it for want of a better word. Some recessed rivet details, and they don't seem to, because they're on a curve there, especially on these doors, and on here, they're not running out. I can't see them sort of getting faint, which is good. That shows that the molds aren't worn out particularly yet. Again, you've got the plastic, the styrene landing gear struts instead of using the metal ones, so that's good. And that's the hubs. They look pretty good. I'm just going to look on the inside. There are some ejection pin marks, but they're raised. There we go. So they're raised. They're easy to just carve away with a bit of knife. And then on the inside of the doors, for those of you who make your aeroplanes look like cars and do it wheels down, the rib's nice. It's okay, I guess. There's no ejection pin marks, though. Can you see that? So unlike a lot of Tamiya releases, a bit of flash, but that's easy to remove. You won't have any problem cleaning them up. A few more to go. What have we got here? Okay, here we go. Here are these flap actuators on this sprue. Can you see them there? They're lovely, really, really well done. And in fact, the sprue gate attachments are wafer thin. I'm really impressed with that, even though I probably do the flaps up. That's really nice detail. So here are the flaps themselves. And as you can see on the inside, the ribbing's nicely done. Don't need to do photo etch flaps. There's no ejection pin marks there, and also on the surface, the rivets are really done well. Yeah, another good sprue. There's the Bombay pieces. I wonder if you can... That's the partitions for those Bombays. I wonder if they were in plastic and photo etch as well. Here's the empennage, the tail. So we've got riveted elevators, or tailplanes I should say, and it looks like fabric elevators. So that looks pretty nice. We've got some really good details there. Here's a lot of these avionic pieces that you're never going to see, the radio and gyros, I assume. Yeah, pretty good. We're almost there. The ailerons, I can never work out how to pronounce that. Can somebody help me with that? I should know stuff about planes. Ailerons. We've got very subtle fabric. Can you see that just as it catches the light? Very subtle fabric texture. That's really good. And then you've got metal, they've riveted the trim tabs there. Okay, so that's really good. And there's the point to put the actuator on. Lovely. This is the final sprue. There's actually two of them. I won't show both of them, but obviously because they're the same. Here's all your weapons. There is a lot. I don't know where to begin with that. You've got some really funny looking bombs and rockets and everything, and they look really well molded. I mean, I assume that's a fuel tank up there. This one up here, is that a fuel tank? I don't know. Or is it the bomb halves? Like I said, I don't know much about what they use. You've got these little fuses here as well. Yeah, I think you can do this out of the box. They might be inaccurate. Trumpeter Hobby Boss are renowned for doing inaccurate weapons in larger scale, so maybe a bit more research is required. The last thing is this lovely box that's put at the end of the internal box, which is great because it keeps the sprues from moving around. I wish more companies would take as much care as Hobby Boss and Trumpeter do with their packaging. It's a little sore point for me because I've lost interest in a few kits when you receive them with damaged parts. So we get this nice little box. Okay, open it up, and what do we get? Here's the clear sprue. We get some alloy landing gear, a vinyl sprue with the wheels and the ammunition that you'll never see, and more ammunition belts that you'll never see. That's a shame. And the rear and middle canopies and the photo etch. Alright, let's have a closer look. So these are the obvious raised rivets parts for the Bombays. Really nice, very small attachment points to the fret, but what will interest most people is the photo etch seat belts there. They look pretty good. They're not as good as fabric ones, but at least it gives you something to hang on that seat. So we've got the vinyl rubber flexible belts here for I think it's a 23mm gun and a 7mm or 8mm machine guns. You never see them, so I don't know why they include them. More importantly are these rubber wheels. I might zoom in a bit. Rubber squishy wheels, not a favourite for a lot of people, particularly if you've got wheels down with a lot of weight on them. But they're not bad. There's no middle seam on them, so they should work straight out of the box. Here's one part of the clear sprue. So we've got the middle canopy, the front windscreen, and Yeah, that looks like the front of the cowl that goes in. That's interesting. I'm assuming you've got this piece and these two side clear pieces so you can show off that engine that's buried in there. That's a very interesting way to do that, to be honest. And there's the clear instrument panel. So you put the decal on the plastic behind, paint this bit, which you'll have to mask with some liquid mask on the faces themselves, and then glue that to the face like that. And the last clear sprue, you get the rear and another sliding canopy piece there. The clarity is fantastic. It's molded extremely well. Nothing to complain about there. There's no middle seam either, which is great. So I couldn't help myself. I decided to do a dry fit because I just wanted to see how big is it, how does it weld, does it go together. Now, if yeah, it actually, I mean, this is one of those things where you need to actually glue it together to get the sort of rigidity and the engineering working. All the small component parts, I'll just show you the tail, that's going to fit lovely, but it's going to need glue to hold that in. In fact, I would possibly even put a rod in there as well. The middle fuselage bits here, okay, that's a gap. That's only because it's such a tight fit. I'm just pushing that together and it just disappears. Okay, I'm just going to take these wings apart, and again the wing gaps there, the outer ones, that will disappear because I've got some layers of tape holding them together. Let's see if I can take this off. So I've taken the outer wings off. So you got a middle fuselage section and these wings. Some fairly, they're not flimsy, but they're good sized tabs here that go into the slots in the fuselage. Everything lines up, everything goes well. If I push that together nice and tight, and I've only done basic trimming, I haven't done anything else. That's not too bad. Okay. If I flip it over, it's looking even better on the underside. So that's on both sides like that. Like I said, on the tail section, it looks a bit floppy, but if I push that in, I'll just remove the tape so you can see it. If I push that in, okay, it disappears. So it should be a good fit. Like I said, there's only this little tab here. Once you apply some glue to those surfaces, there's quite a bit there, so it should meld together quite well. The fuselage fit is like I'm saying, like I'm showing you here. It's just pressing together. That seam's going to disappear. There's no step. Turn it over, and again, no step. Pretty easy to fix. And I'll remove the tape so you can see there. So we've got. Oh, hang on. Where is it? That's right here. Okay. So that closes together nicely. Just have to align it properly. Yeah, I can't see this being a problem to put together. It's because it's so big. And I haven't got all the cockpit parts, so that should give it a bit more rigidity. It's just held together with tape, and I haven't done any fitting. I've just taken the sprue tabs off, done. I think this should be a relatively simple build. This is an excellent kit to start out in the bigger scales, and it's particularly suited to you if you're an armor model. You've got to be experienced doing weathering tanks, because this is literally a flying tank. Armored tub, metal bits everywhere, poorly maintained, and shot at like you wouldn't believe. For advanced modelers, this is a great kit because there's a lot of detail there. There's a lot of over-engineered parts which you'll never see, and there's an opportunity there if you want to do cutaways, if you want to add detail, if you really want to up-spec the model to something beyond just something out of the box. So it's good for that as well. Now, for those of you who really love a painting and weathering challenge, there's plenty of opportunity here, trust me. I mean, those wings, we're talking, almost 1/2 meter wingspan. There's just so much opportunity there to do some chipping, to do, even if you want to convert some of the parts to the wood parts for the different subtypes, to just every technique under the book is there for you to try out. There's quite a bit of aftermarket available for the kit. I'll put a little screen cap up to show you on scale mates what's there. There's better seat belts, like I mentioned, you've got photo etch in the kit, but you might want to go for fabric or some other ones. Better exhausts, the interior, you can up the interior with the Edward sets and photo etch sets. Landing flaps, although I thought the flaps looked alright as is. And resin wheels. I'll probably get resin wheels for this because it's a large aircraft, a lot of weight putting on that, and those vinyl wheels I don't think are going to last that long. I hope you enjoyed that look at Hobby Boss's 1/32 scale Sturmovik. I intend on getting to this one day. I'm keeping this kit, and I've got a particular example in mind, and that's a captured one of the captured single-seater that was in the green and black markings, but the Hungarians got one, and they painted a few markings on them and got rid of the the Red Stars obviously, and flew that around just for a little bit to try them out. So I'm thinking about something like that. Leave a like if this has helped you out. Leave a comment, particularly if you want to see more reviews like this. Subscribe, hit that bell if you want to get notified of new videos. I usually try to do 1 or 2 a week. So yeah, cheers. Thanks for watching. Happy modelling.